mynews.studio.
Smoke still rises in patches over the Amazon. But for the third decade in a row, global deforestation is dropping. Can this fragile progress hold?
Today is 2025-11-26. The numbers are in, and for the third consecutive decade, global deforestation rates have fallen. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, the world lost 10.9 million hectares of forest annually between 2015 and 2025. Compare that to 13.6 million hectares in the previous decade and 17.6 million in the 1990s. That's a steady downward trend. But is it enough?
The numbers sound promising. But let's look at what's driving this shift. Stronger environmental policies, international agreements, better monitoring, public awareness, and reforestation efforts all play a role. But Brazil's Amazon stands out, both as a symbol of hope and as a warning.
Brazil reported its lowest Amazon deforestation rate in 11 years in 2025, 5,796 square kilometers cleared, which is an 11% drop from the year before. That's not just a statistical blip. Do we know what's behind this sustained drop?
Much of it comes down to policy and enforcement. When President Lula returned to office, his administration reversed earlier rollbacks and invested again in environmental oversight. They reinstated the Amazon Fund, ramped up satellite monitoring using the PRODES and DETER systems, and handed out stricter penalties for illegal land clearing. Local agencies, federal and state authorities, civil society, and indigenous communities all played coordinated roles.
So stronger laws are good, but how do these actually work on the ground? Are these just top-down policies, or do they involve people living in and around the forest?
It's a mix. Enforcement agencies act on satellite data, but there's also direct engagement with communities. Partnerships with indigenous groups are crucial because studies show forests managed by indigenous peoples have much lower rates of loss. About 20% of the world's forests are now in legally protected areas, and those protections work best when local rights are recognized.
It's not all good news, though. Even with less land cleared, forest fires and degradation still threaten the Amazon. In 2024, record drought and heat made the region more fragile. Burned areas dropped by 45%, but scientists warn the Amazon could be reaching a tipping point. Could these climate extremes undo recent progress?
That's the risk. Success depends on the resilience of current policies and ongoing international finance. The Amazon Fund and frameworks like REDD+, where developed countries pay others to preserve forests, help keep the momentum, but it's not guaranteed.
Brazil's story is striking, but the global picture is mixed. China and Russia have increased their forest cover through large-scale afforestation, but tropical countries still see high losses. Since 1990, net global forest loss has more than halved, but we're still 63% above the annual target needed to halt deforestation by 2030. Why is new forest growth slowing down?
Some of it is natural limits. Easy land for planting has been used, and incentives for restoration aren't always in place. Plus, economic pressures and weak enforcement in some regions make it hard to maintain gains. The 2021 pledge by over 100 countries offers a framework, but implementation lags.
Let's go deeper on indigenous communities and protected areas. The data says their lands are crucial for preservation. But what would make them even more effective globally?
Experts say three things: formal recognition of indigenous land rights, more funding and technical support for indigenous-led conservation, and integrating these communities into national and international forest management. Their traditional knowledge and presence deter illegal clearing.
International finance, technology, and cooperation. How do we scale what works in Brazil or China to places still losing forests fast?
International funds like the Amazon Fund and REDD+ provide resources for protection and restoration. High-res satellite technology enables rapid response. And cross-border cooperation, sharing data, aligning standards is key. But all this needs political will and local engagement. Can we keep that going as climate pressures rise?
Forests are carbon sinks, biodiversity havens, and lifelines for millions. So the story isn't just about hectares lost or gained. It's about global cooperation, innovation, and accountability. As Brazil gets ready to host COP30, the world is watching. Can we lock in these gains and spread them further?
The declining deforestation rate is a rare bright spot, but it's fragile. Sustaining it will require vigilance, better policies, and continued investment in both people and technology.
And that brings us back to our opening question. Can this progress last? Or will climate extremes and policy shifts reverse it?
Thanks for joining us as we traced the roots and risks of global deforestation. The numbers are moving in the right direction, but the story's not over yet.
Thank you for listening. This episode was powered by the MyNews studio. Try now for free.